Does it usually say that? Okay.
Okay, so we have really nothing more than to just open a public hearing and have our discussion. Because he got that over there. He's feeding over.
For now,
No, he's gonna be doing, aren't you using that or not? Oh. We can shut that off.
will that do it? You guys won't be teeny tiny up there?
I don't wanna see
Matt-
myself.
Matt told me how to do that. I forget how to do it.
But I don't know.
I doubt anybody's really watching.
They might be with bated breath, you never know.
Okay,
Okay, so, right, Beth, just open a public hearing
there it is.
and
Yeah.
have our discussion on public hearing. That's all this meeting's for, right?
Yeah, just kind of go over the budget.
I need a motion to open the public hearing. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, public hearing is open.
Okay, I just thought we could go through, I gave you all the budget form 1 that has variance explanations. The green and white folder or report back here is the summary of all the 37 pages or however long the other stuff is. So it all combines down to this is the big thing that ends up going into the DLGF. So I went down through each fund and kind of gave explanations of increases and decreases and the changes. So I thought maybe if anybody had any questions on any line items, we could discuss them. And in total, I mean, overall, we did reduce the budget by 3.1% this year. And the excuse me, general fund went up 8%, but most of that is driven by the extra patrolman and the insurance. Mark's not looking. So anyway, that was the key there. And we have a reduction on the council line for the insurance or the electricity that we've been paying for the sewer department this year. That went down. So that there's increases and decreases. They all just kind of offset each other, which I was very pleased to see. So the other main issue, not issue, but other things I want to point out, I guess there's really not. That's pretty much it. The 2025 one was increased because of the additional appropriations that we had to spend this last year. So we had additional appropriations for the land that we purchased, for the park, or for the pool, for live streaming and all that stuff's in the reconciliation project. But we won't have those next year. So that's why we're down.
So did anything change?
No.
Relatively? No.
You mean
From
when
the
last
last
time
time
we
we
were
met
here?
on the 30th,
No, I
okay.
didn't change anything. I just made it look prettier. Then we input it into DLGF and then it spits out this form, which is only 10 pages versus the 42 that we had. So that's why I decided to go down line by line on that one by the totals. So those are the funds. Anybody have any questions on any of that?
Not that it's germane to our decisions, but have you or you, Mayor, talked with other communities kind of similar to ours, to know what's happening with their budgets and kind of all in line with what's happening?
Well, ours is, I'm sure theirs may be down a little bit because they've cut projects, they've stalled things. It varies between community. I've been in touch with our financial, we both have our advisors, you know, on all the projects we got going on. And, you know, they told me 2 or 3 months ago, I would not stop saying, just keep moving. It's gonna help. All this housing that's coming into, inside the city limits is gonna benefit us from the lit, for one thing. But property taxes eventually, but you know, we're getting a little bit of that. We gave a lot of it away with the incentive But, I feel confident. I think one thing we're looking at, we haven't really talked to you guys much about, will be very soon, probably, talk about the GO bond, which is a GO, called a
General.
general obligation bond. Interestingly enough, if we do one, we can, get that right, is it property tax rate? Or
Tax rate, yeah.
tax rate was going to drop because of our increase in AV. But by doing a GO bond, we can hold that where it was, which is 0.06 or something.
Yeah, was it point?
Nine, he said 0.9.
It was gonna drop down to like.
0.84. So by doing a GO bond, we hold at 0.9. But it's one that we can use dollars. We kind of categorize different areas, but it's clear across the city. We can use a little bit over here. If it doesn't use it all there, we can pull it over here. Where a TIF bond, you have to use the money in that allocation area. So what we're doing is buying time until we get nailed down investments. For instance, if we get a hotel or if we get a spec building, or if we get Shepherd's to start his project out there with the dealership, all those are investments that once we have those nailed down and signed, so to speak, then we can take TIF dollars from those investments in that area to further extend infrastructure. But right now, it's kind of like, Bob is kind of like me borrowing all the money to put a crop out to get something rolling. Now we need to wait for a harvest, but in the meantime, to be able to fund a lot of these different projects all over town, this GO bond is not only we're using as a tool, but it's also gonna help hold our rate. So it's,
Which specific projects, just the infrastructure projects? Or
I've got a whole list of them, but I don't have them in this meeting.
We'll talk about it probably.
Yeah.
Got a spreadsheet, and I'll probably email that spreadsheet to all of you.
Yeah.
You can look it over prior to the next meeting, but we'll have, somebody's coming next meeting and somebody's coming November, right? One of them's coming and then Heidi's coming, I think.
Yeah, Heidi's coming in November, I
I
think.
think Scott Frizzell will be back here in 2 weeks to talk about this GO bond, what the purpose of it is, and then I'll have that project list in your hands beforehand.
Do you know roughly how much we're?
We have I think he's talking borrowing capacity of 2.8.
2.8.
So we broke out all these projects. It's gonna be in that 2.8 range.
We don't have any debt as a city, so we were able to do the maximum that we could, and then our projects are well below the controlled project threshold of 6.4 million or something like that, so. That's what we were going over today to make sure that we didn't have any individual standalone ones that would jack it up over the 6 million, and we didn't, so.
Gary and Beth and I met with him and Tim, is he from Baker Tilly or?
Tim Foster, he's Baker Tilly.
Yeah. So we met with Krieg DeVault and Baker Tilly today over this spreadsheet and kind of worked it out, and then like I said, we'll have that to deal with next meeting.
Well, and I actually, I'm glad you brought that up. We have it in the budget. It's on the second page, and it says, it's the first two lines, general obligation bond, and it's debt service on it. Baker Tilly gave us some estimates on what we should put in for the principal and interest, so that was like 500,000. The budget would have been even less.
And which document, Beth?
It's on this one.
The
Form
form one?
No, this white one, this one, the little short one that was on.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it's on the second page. Too, so, I'm gonna make an estimate and put those in, or we would have something. Okay, you're making fun of me? So, wait a little bit more, or go on.
Oh, I'm just looking at the.
Okay.
I'm just
And
taking it all in.
then, this form is called Form 3. This is the notice for the public hearing. And it further takes everything down to like a page and a half of, the property tax backed, funds, and we only have like 5. And I went and compared last year's to this year, if you look at the document with the red heading, I kind of explained about what these levies what we do is we try to go high so that the DLGF has to give us the maximum, so they come back down. So that's why it looks like we're kind of out of whack on some of these, but that's what I was advised to do by our municipal advisors, and I guess it will work because they, if you come in under, then that's what they're gonna give you. But if you come in over, they'll bring it back down to the maximum, so. That's what I did. And then on this sheet here, I kind of compared it to last year. And you try to get it so that it's your estimate and your tax levies are equal. But last year they decreased our general fund. Get down to the maximum, so that's why it looks like there's a $300,000 reduction, but the other ones were really close between the levy and the request and then what the actual levy was. I think. Oh yeah, and the other thing I wanted to point out is at the top of on this notice right here, at the very, you see the public hearing date and the time and location. Right under that is the estimated civil maximum levy. You see that on the left-hand side?
Yeah. 3,000,009.
3,000,009, yeah. And that's, because I asked why, when I did my budget, I came out like at 5 million. I said, isn't that a problem? And they said, no, because if you go up to the 5 million, then they'll give you enough, they'll back it down. So you'll probably get the full 3.9 million versus coming under. So that was why.
And
I
the
looked-
5,022,000 under general, that's what you're referring to.
The 5360 on the second page, total of the estimated funds.
Okay, I see it.
Yeah, and that, I thought in theory that should equal 3.9, so I called and asked, and they explained that by having it higher than the DLGF will lower it down, so we probably will get the 3.9 versus a 3.8 or something like that.
And you probably said it, Beth, but why is that general number so much bigger? Like that 5,022,000 versus the 1,196,000, why is that?
Those are the funds to be raised based on the tax, current tax levies. So
that's what
they don't,
estimated?
yeah, the budget estimate and the maximum estimated funds to fund them don't equal each other. The maximum estimated funds should correspond with the estimated civil max levy at the top. And that's why, but it doesn't, and which is okay, and it's legal to do that. So that they come back down to the 3,000,009 and you didn't leave any money on the table. Because sometimes you come in like $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 under, and it'd be nice to have that $4,000, $5,000, $6,000. So that is why we did that. So any other questions? Are you happy?
Good job.
And then in 2 weeks, we have the ordinance. So I definitely need a quorum so that we can sign off and adopt it, because if we don't have a quorum, we don't adopt it, we have no budget for next year. So
Back to the previous year's budget.
they're very, very, yeah. Picky about that, apparently.
Pass that ordinance in one meeting, we gotta
Right.
have 5.
It's true.
So we need to make sure Brian Fitzwater gets here and Brian Goodman will be,
I think Brian Goodman said he would be here.
Yeah, Brian Goodman's gonna be here.
we at least need
That'll be enough.
Yeah.
that.
John might not be here if you.
John probably won't be.
Right, but if you have Brian Goodman, then you got your 5, if I can count on all you guys.
So make sure if you can't make it to let us know so we can, well,
It's due
one of you
November.
can't make it, we gotta get Brian Fitzwater here.
So, it's gonna be a busy meeting. I mean, we'll have this
Yeah.
and we've got other bonds, other ordinances that Scott's,
But I mean, there's not gonna be much more explanation with this, just
No.
go through the ordinance and
I don't
pass
think
it.
so. I'll be sending out the ordinance before, the meeting. So you guys can read it and be up on it. And it's basically just another iteration of the notice. And it just has room for your signatures, so it should not be very, very long in that meeting. Okay? Are we happy? Okay, Gary would like to present his capital budget. Part of my budget if you looked at the detail, I did have equipment broken out, but what Gary is going to present is that we're gonna have one line account in each fund that will have all the equipment budget in it for next year we'll do that. So that way they don't, A, they don't have to worry about where the heck to code things, and B, they've got a plan that they have so much they want to spend that year. And then we've got the money in there. Speaking of which, if you noticed on the fire on the budget, the $400,000 that's budgeted for that is the final payment on the fire truck.
Nice.
So that will be done. This year's it was 160,000 and next year's 400. So we had the funds for that. Good. All right, ready, Gary?
Yep.
Okay.
So most of you have been over this a couple of times. We had a few updates. I'll make it fairly quick. So you already has a packet versus the hard to read screen I did last time. We have a printed version here. So to talk about the cover sheet really is the department by their estimated capitalized expenses for the 10-year period, broken down by year in each column, straightforward stuff. The total 10-year total with no inflation is there, just the collective balance of those years. We added 3% inflation to those, which is the next column. And then what I did was we want to make sure we weren't double dipping, to make sure, like, Dwayne has an equipment budget in his current 2026 plan, right? There's a fire, there's the LOIT, there's the capital, there's the reverting truck fund, right? So what I did was I went through the standard 2026 plan and said, here's what we need per year. Here's how we're going to offset with things that are currently in the 2026 plan. So we're literally just comparing what we're going to capitalize against what's in our current plan. In 2027, then we'll do the same exact thing and align to the capitalized plan. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So the good news is, if you look at the bottom numbers in bold, the actual plan offset is 1.7. So we had 1.702 built into the 2026 plan, and we're really capitalizing 1.26. So, which is, it means we're 500,000 ahead, but do not get excited yet, because Marcus and Derek, I only had the first 4 years. So I'll add those in, which will probably bring that 500,000 up or down fairly notably so. Okay, so, but the good news is we weren't underwater by $1 million or 1.5. So what we're spending currently in our budget is fairly close. We're fairly close on what we should actually capitalize across the coming years. Okay. Page 2, this is the one I've used as a demonstration the last 3. Yes, sir.
Now, on the waste and the water, since they're separate, I mean, that really doesn't have,
It shouldn't impact the general, no. And the same as, and that's what I'm gonna do. If you look at
Okay.
parks, they're on their own budget. I'm gonna split into 3, this cover sheet, I'm gonna split into 3 brackets: general, parks, and waste and wastewater and water. So I haven't broken into 3 categories to subdivide them. I just haven't given a chance to get that done yet. But it won't change the offset for the entire city, because they're on, now they may be under. Now, so we may have to look for ways to help them, but
most of their funding
Well,
sources should come from
from their own funding. correct?
Right, I was gonna say, so we're gonna just leave them separate. I don't
Yeah.
want, okay, good.
Yeah.
We don't want them flowing up into all this.
No, they'll be a separate, distinct, what I'll do is I'll take that cover sheet and like I said, subdivide it into 3 groups: general, which is police, fire, streets, and then I'll break it down by parks, which is a pool, round barn, parks maintenance, and then I'll have a 3rd category for water and wastewater. So it's the same numbers, it'll just be broken out, so a little cleaner on that, the summarization. That's okay.
And then one of the, Randy Williams is groundwater, actually.
Okay.
4th one down. Because Marcus is nice.
Okay. Yeah.
And that should, and it's a utility, so I think it's gonna be down with the water and wastewater.
It's partially in Dwayne's budget, according to him, and partially in wastewater, but I can confirm that.
Okay.
But he has nothing in there, so it's gonna be 0.
Yeah, I think I took it out of the Just
Okay.
put it in
We can-
Randy's.
So realistically, his projections for 26 were 0.
Okay,
So it's not gonna, it's just a matter where we wanna plug him in. It shouldn't matter the total. There's
Okay.
no, the only thing he had listed was he was gonna consider buying a vacuum truck, like we've been getting the sewers clean with the city.
oh, yeah, but we
And
talked.
he opted to rent another year or two just because it was more cost effective than trying to purchase.
Right.
So he's good.
Okay.
And then we go through each one of these couple of notes. So page 2 is, as we talked about, that's been used as a kind of the demonstrator page in the last several meetings. It's the police department. And again, same column to the right, we have our totals. It's the total by the 10-year total. And then we his total 10-year based on all his entire purchases is 1.747, which is the bottom right-hand corner of the spreadsheet. Then what I did was I basically averaged that across the 10 years. So we got to our 174,750,000, which is what we want to capitalize maybe per year. The 3% below that, which brings add a 3% from every department for the year for inflation, which brought his capitalized number for 2026 to 179,993. Okay, and then the bottom row has the red and green font across it. All I did was I wanted to see if they're purchasing, if we're going to be upside down or not in each department as we purchased in certain years. In this case, you know, in year 1, Andy's capitalized number is 179,993. If you look above it, his purchase in 2026 is 146. So he's actually 33,993 ahead, which will roll into year 2. That makes sense? I just wanted to kind of lay it out to see where we stood. Dwayne, on the other hand, he'll be upside down in year 2 and 3 because he wants to purchase a new street sweeper. So we'll have to catch up in year 3 and 4 and 5 to get it back to 0. And we can make a decision on how we do that, but I want to kind of look at their expenses against what we're capitalizing each year to see where we have trends and flows to make sure we're solid. Make sense?
Yes.
The third page, again, is another example, and this actually got split across 2 pages. Is where I went through and pulled the things that are already in the 2026 budget that would offset our capitalized plan. If you look at the last column on page 2, it says 2026 request to utilize. Those were the things that were already in the 2026 plan. First was $20,000, 15, and 140. Those were things that would offset his what's in his current budget for 2026 already. Does that make sense?
Current budget as far as the capitalized budget?
Well, no, so his in Andy's plan, his number is 179,983. He's already got 175 built
okay.
into his 2026 plan. So we're really only $4,000 short
Okay.
of what you would need if we're going to make him whole for his true capitalized number.
Okay.
So if you take that across every city or every department within the city, that's how you got to your 500,000 under. Because Dwayne only needed 220,000 for his capitalized number, but he actually has 300,000 built in, so we put 70,000 back into the pool. So when you average them across the entire city, we're up or down. Andy was over, he didn't have enough for his total cost, but other departments had more, so work came out in the wash. That makes sense at all? Okay, good. Same thing, the same method, then there's just some notes in there, just kind of my notes, talked about certain things.
I just noticed that.
So it's just my notes, but it's just things we're working on, because this is, as we talked about, this will be an iterative process. Every quarter, we're gonna sit down with department heads and stuff, say, here's where we stand. Andy, by police car, that's what costing 65 and 50. We'll have the capital, we'll plan that into the upcoming recalculate our numbers across the remaining part of the year into the out years. So it's just this dynamic process we go through every quarter to make sure we're on budget for our actual non-operational capitalized expenses. If you look at looking where to call out to you was, if you go to Yes, we're gonna do to. You go to, if you go to parks, Dwayne?
Street.
Yes, sir. I believe it's golf, the golf maintenance, golf request, and then we go parks. Five pages from the back. So there's only, look at the main, there's only three things on the front page, maybe.
Just the parks.
Yeah.
I felt.
Parks pool, yeah, yes.
Oh.
That the page. Okay, so if you look at the, what they have capitalized across, they basically have $160,000 over the next 10 years. If you go to the request, which is the offset of what's currently built into the budget, and again, if you look at my notes, you'll see 200,000 and 100,000. Those are the non-reverting capital funds for the parks. So they're under pool, but they're used against all parks. So it's not, if you look at this, you say, why do they have 300,000 in the non-reverting funds stuck in the pool? It's not really pool. I just didn't want to have, I didn't have another tab for it. I stuck it in there. We didn't lose accountability for the 300,000, but it's also, that would actually be applied to all the different parks departments, whether it's golf course, pool, whatever. That make sense?
We're talking about the line item into 442 010 and 443 020.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
It's a big number.
They just, it carried across 2 pages.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Randy Williams, he didn't have anything on his. Is that?
He didn't, that's the only thing we did, because everything was either part of streets or wastewater.
Okay.
And so I zeroed him out because it was already kind of for the places. And he
Taken
had
care of
nothing
in one of-
capitalized.
Okay.
Yeah, his budget was basically, the assessment came in around 400,000 was the assessment, and then we budgeted 400,000 we spent this year, but it's all on actually.
Like
Video
videoing,
camera, yeah,
yeah, so there's
exactly.
no like capital.
It had no capital, and it had no salary or operating expenses in it. My goal going forward is to get him out of the other two funds that he's being paid out of, and just have stormwater, so.
As you build that up.
Yeah.
So all in all, I think the exercise was good. I feel like we're in a solid place, and I think this is gonna help us navigate. But really the idea, I think Trent said this more eloquently than I, when they come with, TJ wants to come and buy our fire truck. We just go down the sheet and say, okay, we're planning this in 2032, where are we at? We can literally plan out our future based on our current expenses, and if we need to adjust for some type of catastrophic event, something gets damaged, we can just go in and, we have to buy a front end loader because the park department caught fire, whatever our catastrophe is, we can adjust accordingly and map out against the rest of the departments.
Well, and I think too, having this tool available to us, if we, after the next legislative session, if we see that we're definitely gonna have to look at some cuts in 27, 28, we can go to this whole thing and say, okay, where can we make things last another year across the board, and maybe, keep us in a healthy position.
It absolutely does, and there's a lot of, I think that was when we were talking about, during our last board meeting is, this is their best case, right? So like a greens mower is $75,000 or a fairway mower, we built these out based on the life expectancy of that specific piece of equipment. So if it's a 5-year life expectancy in a fire truck, we make it 6 or 7. So we just we pull that expense out, so we're building the capital. So again, every year as we adjust this, we can go up or down based on good news and bad news, right?
Did they, don't think they put any number in there at all for any type of trade-in value on any of these
We
items?
didn't put trade-in values. We kind of talked about that, and I felt like that's more cushion than it is something I could point to and say, because, we don't know it's hard to estimate the value of a 2017 fire truck in 2026 or 2030. I don't know how to really do that. So I kind of felt like that's our way of saying, hey, you know what, maybe we can slide some of these things forward, right? And, but it's, you know, just like the, you know, best, this is kind of their request, best case, that's another way for us to have a little bit of a cushion in our plan.
He's used to that farm equipment getting more valuable.
You bet my used car.
Got a story to tell you here in a minute.
These full price, brand new.
These are their estimates based on full value, correct? Now, again, you know, inflation can be 6%, not 3, you know.
Yeah.
That's why we do this quarterly, say here's where we stand.
Makes sense. Thank you.
So, questions?
This is,
Very helpful.
I really appreciate it because tons of work he's put into this
Yes.
in, you know, for free in a sense. I mean,
He gets to do gratitude.
he's a very busy guy and I want to apologize, since his wife here, I want to apologize to Jennifer.
She's here just because he's like,
Yeah,
this is what
she
he's
goes,
been
I
working
want
on.
to see what the heck he's been doing.
Every night. All those hours in my house is actually your account day.
You told me
You owe her a dinner, so.
I asked her why she was here. She said she was bored. I said, I mean, you have got to be really bored. I'm bored now.
He wants this to be done already.
We'll keep this addressing that.
We appreciate it now, but we may really.
Oh, yeah. with
Created in the
2027.
future, yes.
Yeah, I think so.
That those things on each of the requests, which is the page 2 for every department. Because they're within the confines of as much more than we're gonna move those into subcategories and they're specifically aside for those capital expenses. We won't commingle the goal. If they make some work, it was not to commingle operation of the capital. But
Right.
even the point where Beth was, we literally bought little stamps, little red stamps for department heads. They buy their fire truck or their police car or their lawnmower or whatever they stamp it as a capital expense. And I know exactly which fund it comes out of. And each one of these, we get it to track all of our expenses as against the right allocation.
I'm sure this has been educational to all the department heads as well. Because they really in the past haven't had any idea where they stood. You know, when they made their request, it was just, you know, they're more of a shotgun approach and some of them I think needed to be not really reined in, but just educated. And this gives them a good insight to that.
Budgeting is always good.
Yeah, and the capital expense thing that he did, it's great for Karen too, because all she has to do is see that CapEx and she knows exactly what account to put it in. So that helps a lot.
Good work.
Experience.
Remember correctly, you were thinking this gets.
Imagine the cost.
A review of the quarters. Still what you're thinking.
We might not.
Yes.
We may find that quarterly is too frequent, but I think we'll start quarterly and see how we do.
Okay.
All I have.
Anything else? Anything from the public? Public hearing. you haven't-
Did you learn a
I'm very
lot?
impressed. I'm very impressed with the due diligence.
You told me to buy her an old fashioned and ruthless when we were done.
She deserves it.
They're not open on Tuesdays.
We're not open on,
Ah.
I need a day off,
You can go
sorry.
to,
Actually, I'm at.
Okay, so we need a motion to close the public hearing. Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
If you don't have anything else, need a motion to close the meeting.
Motion to close?
Second.
Been moved and seconded, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.